October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a time when we shine a light on the countless women whose lives have been impacted by this life-altering disease. Tonight we hear the incredible story of one woman's fight for survival and another's overwhelming desire to support these incredible women. In tonight's episode, we'll explore not just the physical challenges of breast cancer, but also the emotional and mental toll it takes on survivors and their families. We'll discuss the importance of early detection, how advocacy can save lives, and how support groups like Jenny Dean's Caring and Sharing can make a difference in people's lives. So stay with us for the next hour as we honor the strength, courage, and resilience of those who have faced breast cancer head-on and emerged as warriors in this ongoing battle. Stay with us. Our show begins on the other side of this break. Welcome back to On the Record. We would like to welcome our guest, Siobhan Robinson. She's a breast cancer survivor and Advocacy Dean, president of the Jenny Dean Caring and Sharing Cancer Support Group. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you for
having us.
And thank you for just agreeing to come on and to be a part of this discussion, because to hear about it is one thing and to support is another, but to actually have people to speak about their experiences are so very, very important to this. So in our first segment tonight, we'd like to focus a bit on, Siobhan, on your personal journey of survival. Take us back to the day, to day one. What was your reaction when you got the diagnosis?
Day one, I was not shocked. I was stunned, but I wasn't shocked.
Why were you not shocked?
So because breast cancer is common in my family. My mother died from breast cancer, and prior to the diagnosis, I was battling in my mind because I was approaching the age and where she was diagnosed. And so I was previously already battling in my mind, like, I'm getting at this age, it's a possibility that I could possibly be diagnosed with breast cancer. And I battled with that for about 2 months before I was actually diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And so when I got the diagnosis, it kind of hit like a ton of bricks, but it didn't knock me over, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, most definitely.
Yeah.
And what was that initial process like? I mean, once you get the diagnosis, you get hit with the bricks, as you say. What then happens? What are the first steps? Or what are the next steps?
So it's a tornado. Everything starts moving at a speed that you cannot almost comprehend. Everything is just get it done, get it done, get it done, get it done. Like, we have to get this done. You got to do this. You have to do this test. You have to get this scan. You have to go see this doctor. You have to go and get this implant done. You have to, so it's one thing after the next. There was constant movement. And so it's almost like you didn't have time to really sit and grapple with the thought that, hey, you have breast cancer. So it was more or less, you got to get moving. So let's try the best way we can try to curve, to stop, to beat the disease. We don't have any time to waste. We don't have time to sit down and pat you on the shoulder and say, it's going to be okay. No, we don't have that kind of time. Right now, we are in aggressive mode. We have to get moving.
But I have to ask, what was your emotional state? Because as all of these physical and medical things are happening, you say you don't have time, but you can't shut your brain off. You can't shut your thoughts off.
So I'm naturally an overthinker. But so analytically, I would sit down and I analyzed every aspect of the diagnosis. But my main concentration was my children. Like I thought about my family. So my biggest thing was I can't break because I need to appear or be strong for them so that they can be strong. And so even though I dealt with it mentally on my own, because cancer is a lonely journey, it doesn't matter who you have around you. It's still you. Only you can understand what it is that you're actually dealing with. Because there's sometimes you can't explain what you're feeling and how you're feeling. And so mentally in my mind, I just kept telling myself, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. And even on those days when I broke mentally, I would shake that off before anyone came around and get myself, okay, you had a moment, let's get it together and keep it moving.
Quest, at what point did you and your organization come into Siobhan's life?
Siobhan reached out to us after watching some of our social media pages and going on our website and wanting to be a part of a support group. She actually was invited by another member of the group, and that was just a little bit over like a year ago. We connected with Siobhan. Initially, she was, as every member is, shy about sharing and being open about these emotions that she is sharing now. But the wonderful thing is when you come into a community like that with other women who've been there, they have this way of making you feel at ease and understand that you're not being judged for what you share. And so over time, we began to see more and more of Siobhan and heard of her desire to, fight for her kids and to be around for her children and her family.
What are some of the initial things that you say to individuals who come in? They're dealing with, as she calls it, the tornado of tests and medical procedures. And you've got, I'm sure, this other tornado of emotions that you're dealing with. How do you begin to break through to individuals who come to you for
Well,
support?
that's a two-part response. First, we listen a lot because it's important for the patient or the survivor to be able to release. And as they're talking, we may ask guided questions like, tell me more about what you're experiencing. Tell me a little bit more so I understand. So we get them to share more because the more they release, the lighter they feel. So that's one part of the journey. Secondly, what we do is we surround them with other survivors, not for people to talk to them, but to anchor them and show, hey, I'm a 2-year survivor, I'm a 5-year survivor, I'm a 15-year survivor, or I'm a 53-year survivor. There's nothing that can anchor you more than having evidence that, hey, someone's been there and they've survived 20 years. Yes. So we have those sorts of circles where you get to meet and talk to other survivors who lived long years since their diagnosis, and that does wonders to help inspire them because now, like I said, they have evidence that they're not automatically going to die, because when you get a cancer diagnosis, that's one of the first things that you think, death is close, and that's not necessarily true. You can live a very thriving life after a battle with cancer.
So Siobhan, I have to ask you, you started by saying your mother passed from breast cancer, and you are a mother yourself.
Yes.
What was that conversation like with your kids?
It was hard, but effective, I want to say. Mm-hmm. We decided right before I started my very first round of chemo that we would have the conversation, because I'm a very active person. So I own a business, so I'm always at work. I lecture at BTVI, so I'm either at work or I'm either at class. So they know I'm most of the times I'm rarely in the bed laying down. So obviously, based on guidance from my doctors, just them explaining to me what is going to happen, what I should expect, I knew I would have to say something to them because they're going to be, I mean, you're home a lot or you're in the bed. And then I had an older son at the time who was in grade 12, so obviously he would know something is wrong. And so me and my husband, we decided that we would have the conversation with them. And I said to them, so it was kind of emotional, but I held it together. Like, I didn't break down in front of them, but I told them that I am fighting for my life to show them that no matter what obstacles you face in life, because the challenges will come, But you have to have the mindset that I can do anything as long as I put my best foot forward. And I told them that I will make every moment count. And I told them the same way, you know, when my son was in the 12th grade, I told them, I said, this is your last year in school, make every moment count. I said it to my other two youngest sons, I say, with your grades, you know, you're in a track club, make every moment count. Don't take things for granted. And so we even, after that conversation, my husband and one of my best friends, they went and they made bands, wristbands with my name on it and with the hashtag, make it count. And it became it became almost a movement because everyone that was around me, everyone that saw it, like people, all of my son's friends at school, like all the children in school were wearing the band, and people at my church were wearing the bands, co-workers, friends. It was crazy, and it was encouragement. And sometimes if someone would call me just to check in, they won't even say any words. They'll just shoot a picture of that statement, make it count.
How did that make you feel? That must have been a huge support.
It was, I knew that I was loved, but that was love on a different level.
Sure.
Like, I mean, I was blown away by the support. I was blown away. So I am naturally, I think most Bahamians are naturally prideful people. Mm-hmm. And pride was a big thing for me. I'm private, I'm proud, and I don't really, you know, ask and for help and stuff like that. And so cancer humbled me a lot to the point where I did not have a choice. I had to ask. And the people that supported me, because they knew who I am, they knew who I was as a person, they didn't allow me to have to ask much, because they know when I'm at that point where I'm going to ask, is at the last straw. Mm-hmm. And so people just did. They just came. Like, I cook a lot, right? And I have a house full of boys, 4, my husband and 3 boys, so they eat a lot. But people would come every day and just bring food to feed them because they know I couldn't get out of bed. Sometimes I'd be in the bed 10 days, can't move, literally can't leave my room, my bed, and my restroom. Those were my movements. I had a friend that she had just been laid off from her job, and she made me her full-time job. My husband took an emergency leave from work, 6 weeks to deal with the first, you know, going off, me getting set with all my treatment and the surgeries and stuff. And when he had to go back to work, she moved right in. It was almost like she was a member of our family. She moved. She showed up every morning at 8 a.m. and left sometimes 8 at night. Or she would stay until another friend would come and relieve her. Like, literally, they tried to lift the pressure of my family from having to deal with me. And although I wasn't a lot to deal with, I mean, I basically just laid there, you know, I just laid there either in pain, or someone's just there trying to help me to eat because I'm too weak to lift a spoon to my mouth, and they're trying to feed me. And again, you know, I'm prideful, and I'm like, no, it's okay, I'm gonna do it. But they made me understand the importance of support and having a village around you. Like, what they did for me, I told one of my friends, she's like, I hate cancer. You know, she was so angry, very angry about it. And I said to her, when I was coming out to the end of it, I said, you know what? I said, cancer saved my life. And she just looked at me dumbfounded, like, what? Like, that makes no sense. And I said, it does. Because cancer has caused me to look at things in such a different light. And the little trivial things that you would get upset about, or you would carry on about, or the little things that would throw you off guard, or, you know, throw you off your balance, I want to say. Arguing with the kids about, why is the kitchen dirty? Like those things don't even matter anymore. Like, your focus changes to the point where you're just so happy to be alive. And to have a moment, to have that time with your family, like, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, let's go clean the kitchen together. I'll help you.
Listen, I just let you talk. So, the question, when I hear that, and knowing the journey of our society in dealing with breast cancer, when women would be at stage 4, would hide it, when people didn't know, when they were embarrassed, but to hear this.
Yes.
What does this say about us, the evolution, I guess, of how we approach it and the support? I mean, even even your kids' friends
Yeah.
wanted to support. What does it say, though, about our evolution in looking at this disease?
Well, the thing is, people are being diagnosed younger.
Yeah.
And so with those younger diagnoses, the younger generation looks at it in a different way. I find in my experience that they're more open to sharing. They're more open to saying how they feel about being having cancer, the treatment, getting that family support, going on social media and creating their own little...
And even women talking about their own mastectomies. That was something women never talked about.
Correct. And I think it's because, and which is not a good thing. It is just factual that women are now being diagnosed within their 20s, within their early 30s, that sort of thing. So they're more open to it. We still find that the more mature women are private about it, but that support is just so essential. There's something wonderful about knowing that you're not journeying alone. Like my mom is one of the more mature women, and there was a time in her journey when we would go out to work and she would be home recovering, and she said she felt like the four walls of the home would start to close in on her. And that's why having someone with you consistently is also so important, because when you are in your head alone and there's no one to help you reframe whatever you're thinking or to have the safe space to share what you're thinking, that can be torturous. And that is actually what caused her to birth this support group. She got other survivors because she felt, okay, if I'm feeling this, other women are feeling this.
I want to stick a pin in there. We're going to talk a little bit more about that going into our first break. When we come back, we're going to dig deeper into awareness, advocacy, and of course, community efforts. Stay with us. You're watching a very special episode of On the Record. Welcome back. In our next segment, we'll be shifting to the power of advocacy and support in the breast cancer community. While the medical battle is one part of the fight, emotional and community support can often be just as important. We're still joined now by Siobhan and DeQuessa, but we'd like to talk a little bit more about the Jenny Dean Caring and Sharing Cancer Support Group. That's an organization that's dedicated its time to providing resources, encouragement, and a sense of community to those affected by breast cancer. DeQuessa, tell us how this organization really got started.
Absolutely. So my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer twice. And during her first bout with breast cancer was at that time when she was grappling with all of these questions in her head about why she have cancer. There's no one in the family that had cancer. She had all these thoughts going on. And when she was home alone, those thoughts would overtake her and they would become a bit overwhelming. And she often shared that she would feel like the four walls of the home were closing in on her. And so this was her pain. And she thought, okay, well, if this is happening to me, then there are other survivors who may be having a similar story. So when this group first started, it was all about social impact. It was all about bringing survivors together with other survivors so they didn't have to be conscious about if someone would be looking to see if their breast was removed, if their prosthetic was fixed properly or anything. They could just hang out and have a good time, relate to one another and encourage one another. So that's really how the group started. And it's morphed into so much more than that since that time. So while my mom was alive, she did a lot of advocacy for survivors. She would go to patient
events or
no,
patient?
like she would go to doctor's visits. I'm sorry,
okay. All right.
with patients. She would be calling around, getting them food, getting them ports, like whatever they needed. She was like on this mission of helping women who did not have insurance policies to be able to get treatment and get the support that they want. And almost every doctor that deals with cancer knows her. I would call her the fearless one because it didn't matter to her who you was. If she needed something, she was coming to you for that. And so that's how the group started. My mom lost her second battle with cancer in October of 2017. She actually died on Heroes Day, October 2017. And at that time, the group members asked if I could stand in as an interim president until they were able to get a president for the group. Now, Jerome, I want to be very transparent and say that when my mom was building this cancer support group, I wasn't 100% supportive because I thought as a cancer patient, she should be reserving her energy for her own care.
Sure.
She should be focused on herself being. She should just not be as
looking after
aggressively
herself,
out
sure.
there doing things for other people. But when she died and I stood in, I was like, okay, now I understand, because the need is great. The need is great out there for women who are struggling with, where am I going to find the next dollar? Or who are trying to decide if I'm going to pay my rent or if I'm going to get chemotherapy. For the woman who needs support, and it's like, I don't know how to go about doing this. I don't have the money to do it. You need an advocate. You need somebody to help you get that. For the woman out there who is saying, I don't really have breast cancer. Even though you have a breast cancer diagnosis, you're sitting in denial. You need someone to hold your hand and pull you through that. And so once getting into the work, I said, okay, this is such an important work. And I believe that during the 5 years that I did work with my mom, with the group, I was in training ground because she taught me so much about what she was doing. And I didn't understand the why behind the what until she was no longer here. And I had to pick up the mantle and carry it. So we got formally incorporated. That was a process, but we are a legal nonprofit organization here in the Bahamas with all rights. We've renewed that twice already. We're out there advocating. We are appealing for women to not journey alone. That mental and emotional battle and the spiritual battle. Really, I often say that the real healing from cancer begins when your physical wound heals.
Why?
Because when Siobhan spoke earlier, she spoke about the fact that when she got her diagnosis, it was just a constant run. You have to get a scan, you have to get surgery, you have to heal, you have to get into another surgery. So it's really about survival. You're not so much in your mind about all of the other stuff. You don't have time to think about it because you're only thinking about, I need to fight to live. So now when you're no longer in danger, you have space and time to think through those thoughts that you had in the back of your mind. Like, why was I chosen? Or am I going to be lovable because I don't have breasts and I'm single? Is my husband going to leave or is he going to go? And to also deal with all of the strains on family, all the strain that happens on a family when someone is diagnosed and you don't have a support system. So now you have time to focus on the other aspects of your life. You're out of survival. And now you're back into real life.
And if
Go ahead. That's a lot to process. Go
I can
ahead.
just interject right there. That was so real when she said that after cancer, and I think that has become a passion of mine because after I was declared cancer-free, literally for 4 days, I cried. All day, every day, to the point where my husband started calling the doctors, started calling my friends, started calling my family, and it's like, I don't know what to do. She won't stop crying. And it was actually, I was able to take a breath, like a literal breath. Like I felt like the world was lifted off my shoulders. And now that it's lifted, it's everything. It's now processing, hey, you just went through a storm. I literally could not stop crying. Almost to the point where I felt as if I was drowning in the emotions, in the thoughts of everything that had happened, that I had actually survived.
That's an incredible story. To have to deal with all of that, all at once after you've been through such a traumatic physical experience.
Yes. And the thing is, a lot of women stay in the support group because there's always the fear of a reoccurrence. So once you've had cancer, in the back of your mind, there is always that constant what if. And so when you stay anchored to the supportive community, then you're in survivorship activities and you're getting this understanding that even if it comes again, I'm supported enough to fight. And I have the resources and people that will help me fight again.
So let's talk about those resources. How are you able to keep this organization going in light of so many needs? When you talk about, you're going to have to decide whether I'm going to get a port or pay rent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that stuck with me because now you're having to make a literal life and death decision.
Yes, you do. Well, when I first started, it was a lot of personal resources. The group was not known. as much as other groups are. And so we were just in the process of building our brand. So it would be the resources from me or from my Uncle Henry, other family members who would just tap in. And then as we got incorporated, we were able to now go out to Corporate Bahamas and other entities and ask, can you please donate to our group? We hold fundraisers as well to have money coming in. We don't ever have enough money to help all of the people who are in need of help, but we do our best to make sure that whatever we do have, we give of that to assist other people, not just with money, even with relationships with the doctors, being able to call the doctor. I had a patient call me, I didn't get my pathology results, I'm sitting down, I'm waiting on treatment. Just being able to build those relationships with the doctors to say, hey, what's happening? And then have the doctor explain, okay, well, these are some of the challenges. And so you have that go-between, someone that understands and that they can come back and explain to you exactly what's happening. And Jerome, we do a wide range of things. Just recently, we launched our vegetable package once a month. We give our group members new vegetables. One of the things that we're focused on is a healthy lifestyle.
Sure, makes a
and
lot
so
of sense.
a lot of them, I don't have the money to buy healthy food.
Eating healthy is very expensive.
It
in
is
this country. It's
expensive,
very expensive.
right? So we give them a once a month. We'll give them a vegetable parcel. Try new vegetables. Expand your diet. Get to see how other things taste, because believe it or not, some people don't even know how certain vegetables taste. So that was an important initiative for us as well. We also launched like Hope in a Cup, and that's where we appeal to the public to say, hey, purchase a mastectomy bra or purchase prosthetic breasts so that we could donate that to a cancer patient who cannot afford reconstruction, because you need to have plenty of money or insurance for reconstruction.
And these are the things that we don't think about. You just you hear somebody is diagnosed and they're going through the surgery or they're going through the chemo, but you don't always think about the related costs.
Correct.
And not just for the procedure or the medication, but other things. You can't work, you can't do these things.
Right.
So when you're shaking your head like,
because I actually had someone said to me that I don't know why people always complain about having chemotherapy because it's free. And I was like, what? Who told you that lie?
Where? Let me know where.
No.
Let me know where. It's free.
I was like, where did you hear that lie?
Wow.
No.
And I had to explain to her. When I explained to her, that she's like, it's not free. And I said, no, it's not. It's it's outrageously expensive. I had 20 rounds of chemo. With my cheapest round of chemo being $32,000.
Wow.
So I'm an adjunct lecturer at BTVI, which means I don't teach every semester, one. I have my own business, which is a nail salon. So, and I was told on day 2 of diagnosis, you have to stop work immediately.
Yes.
Immediately.
Immediately. It was a Tuesday, I was diagnosed. It was a Wednesday, I saw the oncologist. Thursday, I was having my port implant put in. The following week, they gave me 4 days to heal, and the following week, I was on chemotherapy.
Yeah.
So the cost is crazy.
Yeah.
And like she says, it's from one thing to the next. You still have children in school.
Yeah.
I have 3 children. I had at the time 3 children in private school. School fee had to get paid, mortgage, and there's the irregular utilities that have to be done. Yeah. Still things, and literally everything stops. But every time you go to the doctor, okay, you have to get this injection, and the injection is $1,800.
Right. And even with insurance, you still have to pay 20% or whatever.
And that's for those who have the insurance.
Right, that's for those who have insurance. Now, if you don't have insurance, the good thing is the oncology department does a really good job, in my opinion, in any event, of offering these services. Again, it's not free. You still have to pay a certain amount. So even when people say, you're going to PMH, that's not free. You still have to pay.
And then, at the end of the day, the public hospital still needs funds.
Yes, they do.
The expectation, people think that everything is free, but it's not.
Right.
And it shouldn't be. I mean, the hospital still has to run.
It has to run.
Correct.
And then while the hospital also, even though they offer some services free, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth by saying this, but the hospital isn't really up to date I was not advancing as fast as cancer is advancing.
Of course, that's a reality.
And
You're right.
Because I had an experience, because after I was, after they called and they spoke with my husband about what the cost of the chemo will be per cycle, he laughed. He's like, okay, that's fine. He said, that's for the entire thing, right? Others like, oh no, that's per treatment. That's per cycle, And so we decided to take the route to let's call PMH Oncology and let's see what, the difference in the cost will be. And one of the oncology nurses I spoke with, she said, Ma'am, I've never even heard of that treatment that you're talking about. She said, what you can do is just purchase it from your doctor and then bring it and then pay an infusion fee at PMH Oncology.
Dear God.
I mean, the demand is so great, though,
Wow.
Jerome. Like, if you were to go to oncology on any given day, you have people sitting down, there are people coming hour upon hour upon hour to get treatment. So the demand itself is great for the public system. So I personally
and that's a reality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. So I think that with what they have, they do the best that they
And let's be
absolutely
honest,
can.
while this is probably one of the more pervasive types of cancer, it's not the only
It's
type.
not the only.
And there are so many other forms of cancer that
Correct.
people need treatment
Yeah.
for.
Correct. So the demand is absolutely,
It's too high.
It's phenomenal. It's just, it can be overwhelming.
And I want to use that to say, sometimes do you feel overwhelmed?
Me as
Yeah.
I mean, there are times when I do. Actually, I was diagnosed with exhaustion early in the year and mandated to take 2 months off because this is a daily grind. This is a go get it. It's not like I'm working for someone and getting a salary. As a matter of fact, I don't get a salary from this cancer support group. We're not at that point yet. We're still. I want to put the money back into the
Sure.
cancer organization to help patients. When we get to a place where we have more stable finances, perhaps. But right now, the bulk of our money is all about patient services. So I do get overwhelmed. However, what I've learned to do since June of this year is to pull back. So after the month of October, the entire month of November is a rest month for me.
All
And
right.
I do have support. We do have leaders in the group.
Yes.
We have someone responsible for our education meetings, our social meetings, our welfare of the members. So I'm not doing it all, but all of it still rests on me. Yes.
Understood. And I'm glad you took that posture.
Yes.
Sometimes we have to take a break from things.
Yeah.
Because I always say, if you're dead, you can't help.
Correct.
So we've got to take that break.
Correct.
All right.
And you would never understand how overwhelming it can be unless you're in it.
Sure.
Because when I hang up from Siobhania, there's somebody else calling me. They just need an anchor.
Yeah.
And when I hang up from that person, maybe 30 minutes later, I have
Somebody
someone
else.
else
Wow.
messaging me. So, but that's how I serve. That's what the role calls for, to serve other people. I just have to take responsibility for my self-care in the process.
Very, very, very important. Ladies, we still got a little bit more to talk about in our next segment. So when we return, what does hope for the future look like? You're watching On the Record. We'll be back with more of this great, insightful, and educational discussion right after this. Welcome back. As we enter our final segment tonight, we look forward to the future of breast cancer treatment and research and the role that hope plays in the fight against this disease. While we've made significant strides in treatment and awareness, there is still much work to be done to ensure that everyone has access to the best care and resources. Ladies, where should we go from here?
Well, I think it's important for us to continue the education and awareness outside of the month of October, which is why I'm wearing a purple shirt today. Our purple represents all cancers.
Okay.
Cancer isn't just October. And it's
So
important
true.
for these messages to go out into the general public every day, every month. We need to continue advocating for early detection. We had a group member, Sheila Monroe. She was diagnosed at stage 1. She had 3 rounds of chemo, 1 breast removed. Siobhan and Siobhania are 2 group members. You know Siobhan here. They were diagnosed at stage 3, 20 rounds of chemo each. So there's a big difference in how you have to fight the longer you wait for that diagnosis. So the way forward is education and helping people understand that, one, you need to watch your diet, two, that you need to get routine testing every year, get your annual mammogram, get your annual blood work done, get your pap smears done. Apart from that, talk about your family history. You know, it's not just on the government, it's just not on cancer organizations.
Sure.
Each family has a part to play in sharing its history so that members of that family can know that they are at risk for a particular thing, and don't bury your head in the ground when you realize that something is wrong. Go and get help. The earlier you get help, the better.
Siobhan, I have to ask you, a lot of people are just afraid. They are afraid of that diagnosis. They hear your story and they say, I don't know if I can do that. I don't want to do that. Fear is a big factor. But knowledge and knowing is so much more important. What do you say to those folks out there who are just afraid?
Yeah, fear is natural. It's natural. It's okay to be afraid. But I always say, I've coined, it's best to be afraid and know than to be fearful and lost. So you can't, I was afraid. When I first felt the lump, I went to the doctor. It was crazy at first because I had just had my annual that July. But that June, sorry. And so August, I felt this little tiny lump. And it was kind of strange, and so I went to the doctor because knowing my family's history, I went and the doctor, he examined. At that time, he's like, no, he think it's hormonal, you know, your menstrual cycle, and it'll disappear. He gave me some antibiotics, and he was correct. It went away. It went away. I had no more issues. But that was August, and then September, it happened again. And so I said, okay, so now this is just a hormonal thing, you know, is being associated with my cycle, and so, yes, this is what's happening. So I went back, and this time I went to a different doctor, and they did the same thing. They gave me antibiotics. They gave me an exam. They checked it. Oh, it's just like a little pebble. Gave me some antibiotics, and I got away, and I was fine. But in the back of my mind, I just knew. I have my girlfriend, she's like, she wants you to stop thinking like that. Just stop, like, you just being negative. And I was like, something isn't right. Something isn't right. And while I was afraid, I kept going. I kept seeking because I wanted to know. Because I am, outside of being afraid of cancer, I'm more afraid to die.
Of course, I see all of it.
Right.
That's a shared fear.
So there are people that be like, oh, I'm living in Jesus, I'm not afraid to die. I am afraid to die.
I with you on that. I live in with Jesus too, but I scared.
I am afraid to die.
I'm ready to lie ready.
I want to live to. I want to live to grow old with my husband. I want to live to take care of my children and take care of my children's children.
That's
So again, you were able to detect stage 3, which was significant. Correct.
Yes. But by the time as they figured out.
Right. You were able to get that treatment, and you're cancer-free at this point?
I am cancer-free.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. When you think, though, about the future, that you have been able to beat this disease at this stage, are you optimistic about even what's happening with the continued research and development?
Yes, I am so happy because right now, like I can speak for like the doctor that I went through and his office. They're advancing stuff, you know, that they bring things to. While it's costly, that still is available, and there's knowledge, you know. And the internet, everything is there, and I am definitely an advocate of breast cancer. Like, you can survive.
Yeah.
I am evidence that you can survive.
It's not a death sentence.
You know, I am evidence that you can survive. You know, my doctor told me, he said, this is going to be the roughest ride of your life.
Right.
And he was correct. He was correct. But I survived.
Yeah.
And I want to be that hope to someone else. If I survive, so can you. You know, and that's what I thrive on.
Yeah.
Because you hear the story of, I checked, they told me one thing, I went back, I kept checking.
Yes.
Is that the message?
It is the message, because she's not the only survivor who will share that story, which is why those breast exams are so important, those self-exams, feeling knowing what you're looking for, you can go to our website. We have something there that will tell you how to go through the self-exam. You want to do that every month. When you find something, go and get it checked. See another doctor if you need to, but stay on top of it. Joe might also want to share that even though we are advancing globally with how cancer is being researched and treated, I think that we can do a lot more in our community to advance cancer as well. I think that more resources should be placed on the research, particularly with the BRCA gene. We know the BRCA gene impacts us highly here in the Bahamas, and so there could be a lot more education and awareness done from younger ages. There could be more BRCA screening done as well to help people with getting more information. If your mom had the BRCA gene, you want to know, because your chances are at a greater risk. So I'd really like to see more attention placed there. And I know we're talking about breast cancer, but I also like to see more attention on prostate cancer. It is like catching breast cancer up. So we need to get to the men. We need someone to take charge of the men. It can't be a woman, but we need a man to take charge of the men. Men
are tougher. We are tougher. Listen, we tough. And getting through that sometimes.
And also having more grants available, more support work available for all the organizations that are helping. It's so much work. No one organization can do it. The Cancer Society can't do it all. Jenny Dean can't do it all. Like, there's so many organizations that all have a hand in this pot, and we're all working for the same common cause.
So it raises another, question for me. There's your group, there's Sister, there's the Cancer Society. Do you all work together?
We do.
As well?
We do. We're all in a group, a WhatsApp group, and we have conversations. If I need something for a group member, I can reach out to Aaron at the Cancer Society. I can reach out to Chantel at Sister, and likewise, they can call and say, hey, do you have this, or can you help this person? So we can do more of that. But that started, and that's how the relationship is built. All it takes is a start, and you continue to build. But it's been, even the Cancer Society in Eleuthera, so there's been like crossing of these organizations to help members of the public. Yes.
Sure. So are there any programs or anything that you are working on specifically, or are there any specific needs that you have? This is the forum.
All right.
now is the time to ask. So if there are things that you're working on or you need help with, let us know.
So our major concern right now is having a building that can house us, because right now the space that we're in, we have outgrown that. The number of women that are coming to the support group meetings, and we also have other educational forums. We do seminars on healthy living, movement, what you need to know about cancer, confidence. And so we need a space that could accommodate like 50 women. And then we also have branded merchandise, so we want to be able to retail that as well. We want to be able to offer therapy in that space. People can come in and have a private conversation. So if you have a commercial space that is sitting right now and you're on pause with renting it, or if you just want to donate that to us for a year and we pick up rent a year after that, or forever, I'm just going to say that too. We are very much in need of a facility that can help us support women. And of course, we're always open for donations. We need money to help buy ports, to buy port needles, to buy vegetables, to get our prosthetic breasts and our mastectomy bras, and to help them pay for some of their medical expenses, the radiation, the chemo. We do all of that. We'll pay for around chemo here. We'll pay for radiation here. So we need support to support others. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Definitely. I mean, that's a lot. And so if you have a building, if you have funds, they didn't say they want to be free. Well, I mean, if you do free forever, but that would be good. But at least free as a start is good. Yes. And so the needs are so great.
Yes.
And the work that you're doing is so significant and important. We're getting ready to wrap up. So I just want to sort of give you a few minutes for some final thoughts. Siobhan, I'm going to start with you. You were able to really tell your story in such an effective and important way. You gave us insights. I think that many out there had not, had an opportunity to receive before. You gave us a glimpse into what that was like. People watching this, whether they're going through it or know someone that is or could go through it in the future, what do you say to those folks out there who are watching tonight? Your final thoughts.
So I just would like to say, don't turn a blind eye if you feel something going on in your body. No one knows you better than you know yourself. You can tell. You can go to doctors, you can go to a friend, sometimes you go to a confidant, anyone, and you feel something wrong. And sometimes people tend to try to persuade you away from your thinking. Or, they'll be like, I just think that's in your head because you're just worried about that. That's what happened. I would advise you to keep going, keep checking, keep pressing, keep pushing the doctors, even force them. Make them, sometimes they'll say, that test isn't mandatory, demand it. Because if you have to pay for it regardless, I would demand it just to be sure. And also find support. Listen, support is the absolute best thing you can have whilst going through a cancer journey. No one fights alone. Together we fight more. Two hands linked together is stronger than one hand swinging alone. Yes. And, we had my friends and I, we sold t-shirts whilst I battled, with a slogan, together we fight. And my husband always said, no one fights alone in this family. The more support you have, the stronger you feel. Because when you have those moments of wanting to give up, yes, we call on God. We rely on our religious beliefs, our religious leaders. But there's nothing when you can build up within yourself the strength to keep moving forward. And God gives you that strength. Family and support gives you that strength. And so if you have it, don't turn it away. Don't turn it away. Like me, I had to let pride fall. Pride is the serious killer. Let it go, but seek help. Get treatment, and keep fighting. Don't give up.
All right. DeQuesta,
Yes.
I'm going to end with you. That was very powerful.
Yes, indeed.
Very, very powerful, by the way.
Yes. So what I would like to say in my final words is get in community. Please don't fight alone. Like when you are alone, you're isolated to your own thoughts and your own experience. But when you get in a community of people who have more experience than you, who've already been through it, who have the wisdom, who could tell you what they did when they felt bad from chemo to make them feel better, who can tell you what they did to bring their blood count up so they could get chemo, who could tell you how they strengthened and what they did mentally and how they strengthened their marriage or how they thrive as a single person. Like that gives you so much inspiration and hope to continue to fight. So if you're out there as a cancer patient, please check our website out to see if we are a family that you would like to come into. If you are a cancer survivor, survivorship activities, those are so important. Check our website out, see what we do, and see if this is something that can anchor you. If you're a caretaker, we also support caretakers and those who mourn. Get into community. Don't fight alone.
That is great advice. Ladies, this has been a moving conversation. It has been insightful. It has taught me a lot. It has opened my eyes even further. Here am I thinking I knew, I know it all. But I have learned so much sitting here with you tonight. DeQuesta, God bless you for the work that you are doing.
Yes.
And I know that a lot of women are here today because of the work that your organization is doing. So continue, be encouraged. I hope that your plea tonight will open doors and more people show up with more donations. And she needs that space. Don't forget about that space.
Don't forget.
And so many other things. And Siobhan, you really are an inspiration.
Yes.
You are an inspiration. Your words have really spoken life into this program tonight. And keep fighting. I know you're cancer free, and I pray that it continues. Keep fighting. I didn't want to ask you if you was a good cook, but when you talk about how you cook, you was a good cook. We got to talk. But you say you like to cook, my body won't pass that. But I wanna wish you continued health.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and thank you for coming and sharing with us. I knew it took a lot of courage to do that. All right, so ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, tonight we explored not only the individual battles fought by survivors, but also the collected efforts being made to advance treatment, raise awareness, and offer support. The future of breast cancer treatment is bright, but it requires continued advocacy, research, and a community committed to lifting each other up. To our viewers, remember that early detection can save lives. If you or someone you know is facing breast cancer, know there are resources, support, and networks, and an entire community ready to help. Thank you for joining us tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Jerome Sawyer. Good night and stay hopeful.